Good morning. Can anyone hear me?
Yes,
I don't
I can hear
know.
you. This is Daniel.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
I didn't receive your email with pictures.
I sent it to you just now.
Okay, I'll go up and get it.
Okay. Now, you got me.
Whoops, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now,
See, I get so relaxed, I forget. Okay.
that little path disappears. Does it make kind of an S or does it just disappear?
You certainly could just switch that back like that and give it a little S shape if you like.
Yeah, because that's what it's looking like to me. But
Yeah. And you certainly could just, we'll throw grasses and things like that over it. But
yeah, cool.
yeah, they do that. And, there's a really neat sort of see, so in general, this is going in this direction. But if you look at the counter, this shadow is countering it, which is really nice. So you might want to just kind of notice that we have a kind of shadow going over that. So you basically have this going this way and this going that way.
Yeah. Ooh, how cool.
Forming an X. We call it the X factor. We have a background hill over here. And some interesting hills in the back, way off.
Oh, is that a background hill?
That back there.
Oh, thought it was a tree.
And then our main tree, I'm just going to put in a big, like a big ice cream cone. Can you see that? And what that does, when you contain the forms like that, what you've done is you've said, okay, this is about the shape of it and the size of it. Now, of course, there's other stuff that'll be off to the side and whatever, but generally, that's about it. And there's no point in putting all kinds of little details into it now. You just want the big general sizes and shapes. We have more little trees off into the background here. If you want to, you could put those in little V shapes too, if you feel so inclined. And then we have a bigger one here. And if you want to draw the clouds exactly like they are, you could. You could also make them a little bit different. I do like how this, and I centered looks like I centered my tree a little bit more than that one is. I think I drew mine a little more square. I don't think it really matters at this point. But I'm going to draw my clouds in the background. I want them to come to about there. And I like how they sort of sweep behind and then come back in and up and in and over. And you may even have a cloud coming in from the top there. When you draw like this, it allows you just to fly through your layout. But if you get too caught up into things like branches and tree masses and this type of thing, you're not there yet. You can easily put that over this. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut a little bit off this side. See, now instead of actually moving the tree over, all I did was move the frame. Like that. So I'm definitely more square than what we're looking at. I could definitely extend this, but this is saying everything I want it to say. So I think that's good. So in a big, broad way, I'm going to, am I going too fast again?
No.
Okay. I'm going to start laying in the sky color value, excuse me. It's so weird. I always think of value and color as the same. I don't know. You will too after a while. And if you want to break up your more contained shapes that you threw them down, like maybe you threw in this sort of kidney shape for the cloud, you certainly could come back in and break into some of those shapes. But now, the sky isn't anywhere near as dark as a tree is, but it's pretty dark. So we'll keep it there for now. Just using the side of my pencil. Sky does get a little bit lighter as we get toward the bottom. Something like that. And I know that the bottom side of the cloud has some shading in it. Maybe we'll put that in. It's more of an afterthought. I'm really looking for the graphics, the graphic shapes of the sky and cloud relationship first. Now, if I squint my eyes, the grass is a little bit brighter than the blue sky, but it's very similar value. So I'm going to go ahead and just, because these are our big values, I'm just going to go ahead and knock those in. The trail's a little bit lighter. I'm going to go right over my shadow. And you can see how fast that is. Well, we use the side of our pencil. Well, the shadow is quite a bit darker, isn't it? Okay. I'll resist putting that shadow in right away. Although it's just staring at me. This background mountain is actually a little darker than the foreground grass. I think it's the trees in front of it that are. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that in.
What's the softness of your pencil, Rob?
It's just a basic number 2 pencil. Your HB, yeah. I think it's the most normal pencil there is. Or is it? I think HB is.
Yeah.
It's just a really basic one. Yeah.
Number 2.
And now let's go ahead and start throwing in our shape of the tree. And you don't have to hit it as dark as possible. Maybe pretty dark, but not really dark, because we'll save those for our deep dark shadows. Looks like the ones in the tree are the darkest. So let's go ahead and let's just start knocking in a couple of those values. They are quite a bit darker than the sky. That's what makes them stand out. I'm not really thinking about tree branches or anything like that. Just, it's a really sort of scattered pattern shape, but it does fit into this sort of V, or maybe a cone shape there. And then you can detail that out as much as you want later, but I don't really put any more than that. That's really telling me the whole story right there. It's about how big I want it. Now, if you'll notice, I'm not painting as much sky as there is in this photograph. I really cropped in quite a bit, so I'll leave that up to you. So here, even though we have these sort of cone-shaped groupings in the background, and I notice I only put in 2. There's about 4 or 5 of them back there, so this is working for me. But I'll put them in the sort of scattered pattern again, keeping to that sort of cone shape. See, that's why I throw out this cone shape here, because it acts as a guide. If you don't have those little guides sometimes when you're drawing trees, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but the tree just starts going all over the place. Especially when you stand too close to a tree. You notice how I'm pretty far away taking this photo. If you stand right up next to a tree and try to draw it, you're probably best to draw like part of the tree, not the whole tree. It'll go all over your page. I'm gonna, let's see, I'm going to, mute. Unmute. There we go. Sometimes I have to mute you guys just because any little background noise kind of, it makes the video go off to you. I'm still learning that. So, but if you need to say something, just hit your mute button, your unmute button, and talk away. It's just all those little background noises kind of, they make it difficult to record. Okay. A little space in there. And then we have all of this, a lot of mass in here. It's a good idea to vary your strokes too. I'm kind of doing all of mine in the same direction because I'm right-handed. So occasionally try some in different directions, like maybe this way or straight up and down. Variation just keeps things more interesting. All right. And now I'll give you a little time on that. We have a couple little sort of tree-ish shapes back here. Somebody could make a argument for them. And this foreground shadow here really does. It's not nearly as dark as these guys, but it is pretty dark. So I would just use the side of the pencil. And as you go over the path, keep the path about the same value as this. That way, There we go. Maybe up and down's a better way because of the shape of the grass. And there's a couple more shadows too. You could take some grasses over the path here. It won't look like the letter S. It just kind of like a little meandering shape. There's a little tree right there. Mention him. So I know that the path in the photograph, I can't really see a lot of light on it in the foreground, so I just left this light, and I'll leave little patches of light here because I like to see the light going into shadow and then coming out of shadow. I don't know why, but it just seems like after doing a lot of paintings, it tells the story a little bit better. I don't know. It explains itself better. Okay, see, I'm starting to nitpick. Yeah. Now what I need is some darks, some real darks. And most of the darks are really found in this main tree. And if you'll look, every little, we'll just draw right here, every little sort of umbrella shape of the, I guess you could call it canopy shape or something. Every little shape has a shadow under it. All right? And this part comes out into light. So you could just throw your shapes on like that. I mean, they do fall into that sort of category of shapes. We used to call them umbrella shapes. So now I'll just come back in, and where the light's hitting it, really give yourself some dark. Those are about the darkest darks in the piece.
Rob,
Yeah.
when you start doing the details, where's the transition from when you've mapped out the overall composition and the graphic relationship of all the shapes to where you're using the darks and lights to create a focal point? And also, how do you avoid making all the interesting darks and lights detract? I mean, like, focal point, when do you decide on it, and how do you keep the interesting darks and lights that occur in other places from detracting from the focal point?
Yeah. Yeah, you notice how I went right for my focal point first. So even though I'm noticing that this tree over here is probably darker down in here, I'm going to hit some darks in there, but I don't want them to be as active as this. So I'm going for this first. You're probably going to want your most activity here, I would think. And I'll play these down. Like, for instance, I do want darks in here, but I'm just going to put them down about like this, about like that. And then in the end, what happens is in the end, that's when you come back and you'll give it, I like to say, a little love, you know? You come back in and some edges, give it a little time. Okay? So you're going to want your most contrast in here. Even though I'm noticing over here on this tree in the corner, it does have more contrast. You're the one that controls that. Yeah, in the beginning, I just work on my big shapes, then I start going to smaller shapes, and then after I've got all these things laid in, I'm going to concentrate on this focal point. But that's really how I kind of go about doing things. I just save my most contrast and my most rendering in this area for this piece. Now, some people might even want to do the whole tree line as a focal point. You mean, you know, it's really up to you. Now, you could have a whole bunch of detail in this, and then hyper detail this. It's all relative. So I don't have very much detail over here. Now I might want to actually even throw in a few little like tree branches in there. I don't know if you can even see that, but I'll throw in some through these little gaps where we see a few little light spots and whatever. I'll throw in a little bit of, like maybe here, throw in a branch or two. And I always think of the branches starting at the bottom off kind of thick and then getting a little thinner as they get toward the top. But the cool thing is about a sketch, you don't really have to put in that much detail. But I would consider this. I'm seeing this this branch in here from the corner here. Do we want that? I don't know. I think it might be kind of nice. I want to include something like that in there. And that's what I'll try out in the sketch. And if it doesn't work, I'll might leave it out. That's what sketches are for. I think it's working. And that would be the dark on light branches. But I'm also noticing these little lights on dark branches in here. Can you see the little twigs and branches that are coming out here? I'm not even going to try to, well, I guess I could. I'll throw in something light like that in there. And then I could do something like that. Just to tell myself I want a little light on my dark. So I have the dark on light, plenty of dark on light in this painting, but a little light on dark might be nice too. So I'm going to hit just a little something in there to tell me, don't forget, maybe hit a little light branch in there or something. They're really minor, but when you leave them out, something looks like it might be missing. Yeah. Now it's one of those times where you might want to say, do I want to put the shadows of the clouds in there? They seem to be working just fine in the sketch. So if I put them in, they're very light, very, very light. I don't even know if this actually makes a difference. But you're more than welcome to put those in there. They don't seem to be making too much of a difference. At least that gives me a plan. And that's what I would just call a quick value rough and a thumbnail sketch. You know, sometimes a thumbnail sketch is just this, really small, about the size of your thumbnail. And you just kind of go like this. Okay, I want this here, I want this there, this. We got this shadow here, this black thing there. And then you just ask yourself, is that the arrangement I want? Or maybe I want to take this main line, this main hillside line down. But that would be a quick thumbnail sketch. And you see how fast I did it, right? Thumbnail sketches are meant to be done that fast. So what we did isn't really a thumbnail sketch, you know, even though people call them that. That's really, I actually should have done this first. And then I should have showed you this first. I'll do that next time. Because these really help. Oftentimes you'll see artists do that and they'll go, no, you know what, I need this main line here. I need that to go down a little bit more. Or I need to bring the frame up a little higher. I don't know, you know, but that's what you do in a thumbnail sketch. So maybe on this one, I'll bring that down a little bit more. Shadow, V, etc. These thumbnail sketches can be very useful. They really, really save you some time. So, okay. But I think this works just fine. Okay. Now, I'll put that over here. And shall we get to some watercolor painting? How about that? Let me make that a little bit bigger here. All right, maybe a little bit smaller. Let's see how wide that is. Okay, that's good. And I've got my little rough sketch here. Right there. I'm just going to draw out my frame first. Could be a little more square than that, but. By the way, I think I've told you I like these gum erasers. They don't give you all of the, what do you call, all the little eraser stuff that gets in your paint. Yeah. I'll let you guys get set up there. I'll give you and let me ask you, I'll unmute you here. Do you guys need a little time to get set up? Are you okay for your watercolor?
Yes, please.
Okay. How much time do you need? A couple minutes?
Yes.
Okay, couple minutes.
Are you doing, Rob, is your paper horizontal or vertical?
What do you mean? You mean my?
Your watercolor paper, did you make it?
Oh, you mean am I painting? I'm painting. Yeah, I'm painting flat. Is that what you mean? Flat or vertical?
No, I meant
Landscape shape.
Is the paper vertical or horizontal?
Landscape versus portrait.
Oh, it's a landscape. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm liking this thing. Hey, you came in late, George, but I'm using this little computer thing to, and it has these little, isn't that great? It has these little things that keep it in place, but it has these little doohickeys here, but I'm using the, if you'll notice, I'm using a gum eraser on the back just to stop it. And that works just fine. That way I have more freedom. But
Looks good.
I was just, it was funny, like 5 minutes before class started, I was looking for a piece of wood or something to put, so I could have a little bit of a tilt. That way you guys don't see my hat or my head like this. Oh, whoops. I forgot to. Oh boy. Oh man. Okay. I'm gonna go for this background hill here, and it's a little bit grayer of a green. So I'm gonna take the Prussian blue and yellow and make a green. Maybe cadmium yellow. Then if you add just a touch of red to it, see, it's kind of a grayer green. You know, sometimes in springtime, these hills get so green, even hills that are far away are ridiculously green. I mean, it's green here, so it must have been spring. But I have a dead tree in there, huh? And that's kind of nice. I certainly could put that in later, but since it's all wet and it doesn't have a lot of definition, I think I'm going to throw in something warm in there. There's definitely some gray in there too, kind of a lavender gray, some dead trees in there as well. And I keep that edge right there kind of raggedy like that because there's grasses and things. And that's just all wet into wet. We certainly could come back. We will come back into that later. I just want some kind of value back there. And I know it's pretty gray. If I want to make it prettier, I can just glaze a little bit of yellow into some of my green grasses back there if I want them. But I'm a little reluctant to do that because I have all this green in the foreground that I don't want to mess with. So let's throw that down next. Prussian blue and yellow. I would say I'm going to try lemon yellow and see what happens here. How does that look? Yeah, that's nuts. That's what we want. And I'm just going to paint right over the shadows. I'm going to try to avoid the path. And if you'll notice, I'm using this dry brush technique right along the edge of the path. That's a great way to get a nice loose quality to it instead of that hard edge that we drew it in with. Kind of a like that.
That's not the shadow color, is it, Rob?
No,
Oh, okay.
this is the green grass. I'll glaze the shadow over it
Oh, okay,
after,
I see. I got
after
it.
this is dry. So it does look like a Superman. We have a bunch of gray, dead stuff over here you could put in if you like. I think maybe I'll just paint that green for now. Paint this whole thing in green. By the way, you see all these little white things that happen? I mostly I don't even think about them, and then in the end I'm like, oh hey, they're little charming things, they kind of glisten. But you know, since we're doing it, you might as well just kick a little grass right over the fronts of this path here, even though a lot of it's in shadow. And then I'm noticing little grasses going across the path. Might as well, since we have the green on the brush, might as well. And if you notice, they're very horizontal, very flat, because the path is flat. So just, I would throw those in a very sort of horizontal manner.
Slow down, Rob.
Okay. I'm like a racehorse over here. And just a couple of those little grassy things. See how that breaks up the S? And then when we put a shadow over it and all that.
Did you darken it with the Prussian blue?
I really didn't darken it. I actually just glazed it. It's the same color.
Oh, it is. Okay, it's
Yeah.
coming across a lot darker.
Yeah, I see it on the video. I'm just glazing it. And you know, by the way, there's little warm spots and cool spots in the grass. Feel free to let little reds and blues happen in the grass. See, like little things like that. They're there. Makes it feel more natural too. The cool spots would probably represent dead grass. So if I came back with something like a little cooler like that, we do have all this dead grass here. Dead brush and grass. So just graze it and makes it look a little more natural. And I'm looking at the path here. It looks like my watercolor is pretty dry around the outside of it because I'm not using a tremendous amount of water. Just to show you, I mean, I am still getting blooms though, if you can see this. There's a bloom here. So I am using wet into wet. I am using a bit of water, but I don't use globs of water. If you do, you know, don't be surprised if it gets out of control. Okay, now we have an orange path. So I would make yellow and red, but that's going to be probably too orange. So you want to put the tiniest amount of blue into there, and that will neutralize your orange. So I'll show you. Let's see if we have an orange like this. If I put an orange in there like this, it might be a little too much. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. Dang it. Yeah. But anyway, to gray it here and there, you might want to just add the very slightest amount of blue. I'll just throw it in orange first. And don't worry if a little bit gets out into your grass. It could happen. Now, that might look, oh, actually it looks pretty good up on the camera. While I'm looking at it, it looks pretty intense. So I'm going to take just the slightest amount of blue here and there and see how I'm just neutralizing the color, just graying it here and there. That's all. There we go. I'll put it on pause here for a second. Let you guys. Okay. Now, let's start massing in our trees. And we have sort of a green, a dull green. Try mixing Prussian blue and yellow to get your nice bright green, and then add a little bit of magenta to it. That'll dull it. Now we're going to start off with the lighter area, just like when we sketched it. We're going to start off with the lighter area. Something like that. And then we'll come back and hit some of those shadows. But here's what's weird about these trees. Even the lights if you look at them, they're pretty dark. Okay. And as I put these in, I'm leaving little gaps, little areas in between each clump. My clumps might not be exactly like what I'm looking at, but I just use it as a reference up there. I have a nice little clump over here. That. And if you'll look, this is why we used to call them umbrella shapes. If you'll look, they'll make a shape like this, kind of like an umbrella. I mean, it's not literally exactly like an umbrella, but if you move your brush in that fashion, you'll get the umbrella shape of these trees. That's another secret. Ancient old master's secret. And I leave little gaps in there because you'll use those to throw in little, you know, whatever you call them, little branches and stuff. You need some little gaps in there. I think maybe I'll throw in the branches kind of brownish.
Rob, are you getting darker as you go down?
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
Is it getting darker as you go down, or is that just my screen? Maybe it's just my screen.
No, they're about the same. They're about the same. Maybe using a drier brush. My brush is sort of semi-dry. It give you that sort of clumpy, scruffy feeling of these trees. And that's basically one color, one value. I wouldn't worry about the shadows right now. But since we're kind of in this mode, you know, we kind of got our scruffy painting motor going. How about we just do more? We've got some more over here. And oftentimes my trees that I make don't even really look like what I'm looking at. I like the freedom to be able to make them any way I want. Looks like the ones in the back are a little deader, and I do like the fact that you might have some redder trees next to greener trees, and these ones in the background might not even have too much dark in them. And there's a little overlapping here. I think that might get a little confusing. So I think I'll deal with that later. I think I might, or I might just leave a little gap here. I don't know. I love the dead branches that just kind of flying up into the air. Those are fun. See, leave all the little gaps in there. So we'll throw a few branches in there, and I'll show you how to branch these things out. Almost want to just leave them like that, actually. I haven't looked at them on the screen. It looks pretty, I'm looking at it really small up on the screen, and it looks pretty good. Pretty good is pretty good. And we do have this tree over here. It's a bit darker. I told you I would probably want it a little bit lighter and not so much detail. So I'm just going to sort of dry brush this thing in. A lot of dry brushing. You know, I just hit a little darker value in there. You know, I don't mind it. It's not too dark. So, you know, I'll just leave it. Just use your own judgment on those things. Let that dry up a little bit. While I have this color on my brush, I'm seeing some grayer things in the background. Just give myself a couple little scruffy notes back there. Little notes of color. I can even see a tree trunk back there, but I'm not sure I want to even put that in. I don't want this background hill to be extremely competitive with everything else. There's a lot of competition in here. Everybody's fighting to be seen. They all want to be the star. It's Hollywood, baby. Okay, so we got maybe another little tree, something like that in here. I think I was noticing. A pine or something. I think when I hit that a little bit lighter, I just dab that with my towel. When I hit these darks in the foreground, it should go off into the background. But before, I definitely want to get into the darks on these trees, especially this. But before we do that, You know what we're going to do, that big shadow. Oh boy. You've been waiting for this. So what color to use? Well, you know, as long as you get the value right on that, you could probably get away with using a violet on there. And you know, the safe bet would be Prussian blue and some yellow, but just with a lot more blue in it, so it's darker. That would be the safe bet. I can use some violet here. Just use ultramarine, and magenta. Ooh, that's nice. Mine got a little bit blue. I like that. I think I'm going to paint. I know we had that white twig in there. I think I'm going to paint right over it and just maybe put it in with gouache if I feel like it in the end. But I'm just going to go ahead and I'm using the side of my brush. If you notice, I'm just laying it down flat like this. I'm not doing this. See, I'm doing this. Just using the side of my brush. Look how fast that is.
Are you doing that as a wash or
It's just a glaze, yeah.
a glaze? Okay. It's a heavy glaze, though.
Well, it's a pretty dark value, yeah. I'm going straight up and down to get the sort of grassy quality. You can scruff that in, maybe dry brush if you like, or yeah.
I'm sorry, Rob, what color did you use to make that? Violet and?
Ultraviolet and magenta.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. Now, you notice I didn't pull any over the road. I didn't want to go that dark over the road. It's a pretty light value. So I'm going to use pretty much the same color, but I'm just going to go over the road, the path, lighter.
So what do you mean that you're going over the road lighter? So you put more water into the Prussian blue?
I'm not using as much. I'm just watering it down a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. See how it feels like you got light over here and you got shadow over there? That's all. Now, by the way, since the light is coming in our piece from this direction, you will get pieces of grass casting little shadows onto the road like this. From the right side going left. And see, they make a difference though, they do. Just put a couple of them in there. There. Maybe a little bit there. That's about it. I remember in the sketch here, I was noticing that we had a little bit of dark down here too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw a little bit of something over the path right here. And the grass. Just kind of closing that corner off. I go up and down so I get a grassy shape. And then if you notice my shadow's a little dark here. I'm just going to add a little water to that. There we go. Like that. Not a big deal, but it does matter. It all matters. I'm even seeing another little shadow way up here. I like it. I just throw it in like that, and then looks like a line, and then I just go down and then up to break up the lineage. Lineage? The lineage. No, that wouldn't be lineage. The straightness of it. And you see how my little Superman thing kind of gets lost. Especially if you kick some grass over the front of it. Well, these two. Notice even in the shadow there are dark and light spots. Yeah. I don't like my paths to be too manicured. So maybe break up the edges a little bit more. I don't know. We humans, we want to manicure everything. Oh boy. The hills are alive, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now let's go for some darks on this tree. I'm going to see what just ultramarine blue looks like because they're pretty dark and I'm glazing them over something like that at the base. Your darks will be found at the base of each little clump. So if we have a round clump here, it'll be found at the base of that clump like that. And, you know, dry brushing them in might work very nicely. I would use blues and violets. So maybe a blue violet. I want it drier than that. There we go. Down into the base. I kind of like the blue. Just pure ultramarine blue looks pretty good. Oh, I should have used more of that. All right. So the kind of the raggedy, the more raggedy your edges are, you know, with this dry brush kind of edge, it'll look like just billions of leaves. And you could come into the others too. I would not make them quite as dramatic as this one. Just a little bit here and there, like that. That's about all I'll put in there. And this guy over here does have, obviously he does have some dark, but I don't think I want it as dark as this, so I'm gonna ease up on that a little bit. Just add a little bit of water. Just remember every little blob, I can draw it right here. Every little blob is being struck by light from the right upper side. So the shadows will mainly be on the bottom and a touch off to the left side, like that. And you know, here's where it gets weird, is that sometimes they'll cast another shadow onto another blob. So you'll get a blob like this, and then you might get a little bit of a cast shadow from this guy casting a shadow onto there. That's a little complicated, I know, but so I did hit a couple of those, like maybe down here on this, on the tops, you might get a little cast shadow on there. Helps bring things together. Okay. Now here's the fun part. I'm going to go ahead and throw in some of these branches. And I'm using kind of an orange, a reddish orange. So it's a little on the dirty side too. So, so take your cad red, cad yellow, that'll give you a reddish orange. And then if there's something dirty next to it, like maybe a touch of green in it, just so it's not this perfectly orange, because I notice a lot in eucalyptus trees, they get a little bit on the orange side, the branches. They get almost every color. I mean, if you've been to the Arboretum, you know, they've got that rainbow one that does all kinds of things. So I'm just throwing in little branches. And you know what? Let me make this a little bit, let me kind of a detail here. How's that? So I'm just throwing in myself some branches. I mean, yeah, branches like that, just connecting them. And if they go right over the top of one, you know, what you can do is, I would rather just go right over the top and then take a wet brush and just take it right off like that.
Rob?
Yeah.
When you did the branches, were you using a pen?
No, I mean, no, isn't that crazy? This brush right here.
The whole time you've been using the brush? Oh. Okay.
I've only been using this one brush.
Okay.
That thing will pin an eyelash.
Okay.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And then it gives me a brush. I can get like an 1.5 inch wash by using the side of it and then choke up and use the front of it. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
For painting this size, I don't even need any brush. This is the only brush I need.
Wow. Okay. Thanks. Gosh.
Yeah, it's a great question. I forgot, but honestly, I mean, I like it better. I hate to say this. I'm going to say it though. I like it better than the sable brush. I know that's sacrilege, but I have great luck with it. Just some little, and you know, you only see the branches and tree trunk in these big open areas. So that's why I left all these open areas. I'm noticing we're getting a little bit of one coming off over here. Something like that. That's where you see them. And just they're not catching a whole lot of light. If you wanted to, you could take a little gouache and pop a little light on there. You know, maybe I'll do that later. I think it's probably the best way to do this. Maybe I could have left each one light white. I know it looks like hundreds of little I've really only got about like 6 or 7 branches with a couple of little baby twigs on there, and that's it. It just looks like hundreds of them though. And go up and look at it. If you can ever get a chance to look at an Edgar Payne, look at some of his branches. He's such a master of the tree. He'll put like 5 branches on the tree and it looks like 200. Same in here. That's a little dark. So I'm just going to take my little, my big secret weapon. I got these, I've downgraded my paper towels to the dollar store because I can't find them anywhere. Isn't that weird that they still haven't really brought back the paper products after all this time? I'm having a hard time finding them.
But you did find some at the dollar store?
Yeah, I found some at the dollar store. That's the little secret, and they're cheap.
$1.
They're not that great though. Definitely, I'm spoiled with Aviva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't you think Viva's overkill for painting? Maybe not, huh?
Not for oils, but I think it probably is for this. So I'm noticing a lot of kind of lavender color in the shadow of the cloud. Very, very, very light. And I know you're just doing the, maybe you're doing the branches. But this goes pretty fast. I just put this in like a wash. Very light. And I'm still thinking just the same way you're thinking about the foliage here with this ball, this kind of ball idea that I drew up. Oh, I need to make this smaller. There we go. With this, you know, this little ball idea right here I showed you. I do the clouds in the same way. In other words, the right side and the top are getting most of the light. The bottom and the left side are getting most of the shadow. Now I'll take a wet brush and just kind of feather that edge into the light. You could definitely do a big wet into wet smorgasbord part in here, right here. Extravaganza. So I just got light, shadow, and then I just use a little bit of water in between. Like that. And I'm getting a beautiful little bloom right there. That's going to be nice. You probably won't even be able to see it. But I am. I would not lie to you about that. You know, white clouds can be nice. And just leaving the white of the paper can be nice. I like to add a touch of yellowy or yellowy orange to it. So, and I mean very little. I don't know if you can see that. I just put a little bit right there. See that? Just a little bit. Just, and I'm just gonna move that all, that's enough to do the whole thing.
Yeah, it looks good.
Thank you. Just gives you a little bit more feeling of light, that's all. Just a very, very less. I mean, if you have white, like let's say you're painting white, what are those white suds that come up on the beach? They're just as bright as the whitest clouds. I'll do the same thing. Just because a stark white usually just doesn't feel like sunlight.
Or you could call it foam.
Yeah, foam, thank you. Yeah. Now, the enemy of the Transparent Watercolor Society. Gouache. Now again, I can use this brush because my gosh, it comes to a needle. And I'll only use this to accent. And again, every great master would look at you wondering why you would have a problem using white in a piece. They would tell you, use whatever you can. I mean, that's why they did that. That's how I know they'd say that because, well, I've talked to them. Okay, remember our white one right here in the front? Watch how I do this. I just throw it in like white, like that, like that.
Because you're a great master.
I'm a great master BSer. No. And okay, so I'm just throwing those in. They will dry darker. And you know, it's just like doing the branches up above, but you're doing it in reverse. You're making white branches instead of dark branches. And so I had the dark up against the light. Now I have the light on the dark. And I'll see how this dries. And if it's too bright, I'll throw a little bit of a glaze over it. We have a few up here in the foreground. So you can just use your own judgment where you want to use them. You know, I was talking about earlier. I do notice that there are a couple of branches up there on the tree that have a little light hitting them. So if you wanted to, you could come back in choice little areas, hit yourself a little light on there, maybe in there, maybe here, right in there. Let it dry up, and then throw yourself a little glaze on it. so it doesn't stand out too much. Sometimes they come out just perfect, but not usually. I'll throw in a couple of little light on dark branches, or we could possibly have a little branch catching light in the shadow. That's generally where you'll see it too, is in there. Yeah, these are drying much darker. There's all kinds of scruffy stuff happening back there. Little dry brushing. You know, dry brushing when you're doing weeds and grasses and foliage is just the best. It's the best. That's why you gotta really practice your dry brushing. You can accomplish things really quick with dry brush. Now it's just all about any kind of details you want to put in. Excuse me. I'm noticing some of my trees here don't feel connected to the base. So I'm just gonna take a little shadow and a little bit of, or maybe I'll take a little bit of the green grass right up and over it. Yeah. There may be a little bit of shadow on the ground there too, I don't know. Whatever makes it feel connected. Any sort of reference or detail you want to put in the background. I would not put too much in the background though. You can really get caught up and then you have all this interest in your background over here and you lose it off here. Okay, now my whites are pretty much dried up. So I'm going to take a little blue violet again and just glaze it right over this one. Okay.
Rob?
Yeah.
You know, looking at the painting right now, to me, the shadow looks like the focal point.
What shadow? This shadow on the foreground?
The big one, yeah.
Well, it shouldn't because there's so much activity back here. There's really not a whole
Well, maybe,
lot.
yeah, maybe I can't get close enough for, yeah.
I mean, it definitely has some drama up here. And so, you know, if that's the case, then maybe the idea would be to come back into here and put even more detail.
Uh-huh. I think it's the contrast of the shadow against the light grass.
You know what's funny is I keep looking up on, I have the little painting up on the screen that I'm looking at, that I'm painting, and it's much more contrasted than what I'm doing. I mean, the contrast and the light and the shadow here are like way more than mine. And that's what cameras do. They will over contrast things. At least that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. And did, you know, your clouds, you've outlined the clouds, it looks like, in the photograph.
Yeah, I did those pretty dark just to show you guys where they were, and then I didn't erase them, so I just leave them.
Oh, okay, that's the pencil marks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't mind. You know, and we talked about having some branches over here maybe. These are just finishing touches. I hold my brush way back like this, you guys, way back at the base. And I don't overly control it. And just touch the surface. It's almost like I let the branch just tell me which direction it wants to go. And that second one got a little bit dark. By working a little bit wet there. Probably a really good time to step back, take a look at it. Now, just on a quick note, these are big, you know, if you think of them as a ball, then it will cast a shadow down onto your branches like that. So anywhere underneath the ball, you probably will get a little bit of shadow onto your branch. Sometimes that makes the branches feel more like they're part of the piece, not so detached. And come around the outside. Just a couple of little leafy things that could happen around the outside. A lot of strong dark at the base here. I'm actually just using ultramarine for my darks. Yeah, like that. That really brings you into it. A couple of those really smack them down there, right? And that's a watercolor for you. We're at the end and we're smacking our darks. And then it's just a free-for-all now. I mean, you can basically, once you get these big masses in there, it's the edges of things, highlights, and any kind of detail you like. Like maybe back here I do want to include a little bit of that trunk. I wouldn't put in any more than that, you know, because I wouldn't want to detract from any of this. There may be a shadow on the ground though. Very faint looking shadow on the ground here. Don't want to give it hard edges though. Just take a little bit of water on the edges. And I just put the shadow down there to ground it a little bit. Sometimes my dark gets too kind of dead. So I'll bring back a little bit. And you know, the funny thing is yellow itself is very opaque, especially lemon yellow can be very opaque. So that's good enough to break up some of these shadows, just so they don't get too, I noticed they were getting a little bit stale. When they just get, there's no activity going in them, so I get a little bit in there. Maybe a couple more branches up here. About it. Maybe a signature. That'll probably dry so dark you won't be able to see it. I'm noticing in this area right here, I've got a lot of sharp edges from the hills meeting the clouds. And that's, you know, I wasn't even able to see that until I looked up at the screen I'm looking at a very small version of what you're looking at. And so I'm just gonna go in there with a little bit of water on the edge, a little bit of water. You know, I bet you people don't have any clue that artists even do this stuff. But I'll remove these hard edges, just soften them a little bit with a little bit of water and maybe a little bit of blue in there. It's not such a hard edge. I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm taking ultramarine blue and white, and I mixed them together on my palette, which you shouldn't do because you don't want the white to mix into your regular watercolors. So I'm going to make sure I wipe that up. But see this hill back here, I want it to feel a little bit more distant. So watch what I do here. You see that? I'm just putting white translucently. So there's still a lot of water in it. You see how that just makes it feel more distant? Didn't really, and it won't, you'll see when it dries, it won't change the value very much. But it adds all this mist. Just like Southern California, right? We have all this mist in the air. They used to call it smog. Now that will dry darker, believe it or not. Isn't that weird? So gouache can dry darker. I have a really hard edge right up in here. This is what I think about at this stage of the game. Just take a little water. I could scrub into that, but here's another little thing I do. Take white gouache, put it on the edge. See what that did? Just sort of soften the edge. So you don't have that great deal of contrast, that's all. Like if I wanted to do the same thing in here, here's another way to do it. Lay down pure white gouache like that. So I just pure white gouache right down there. Not 100%, there's a little bit of water in it. And now I just take the little touch of water and just flick it out into the, look at this. And I soften that edge. Oh, by the way, when you use gouache in your clouds, you really get these misty things that happen in clouds all the time, so they're really fun. You know, one thing I didn't do was, I'm noticing in the photograph, around all the big clouds, you have these baby little floaters. You can see those little floaters. I could have drawn around them. I didn't even think about them at the time. But now I'm thinking about them. Watch this. Dry brush them in like that. Don't worry that they're not perfect. Just a couple here and there. You know, once you learn a few of these tricks, you can actually just make up clouds any way you want them to look. You can kind of use what's there as a reference, and then you know this sort of formula, so you can actually make up a cloud and put it anywhere you like. So I'll do a few of those. You know, I could even pull in some back here. Just paint it right over. And they have pretty stiff edges. And sometimes they work just like that, actually. But what I do is I let them dry up. And then with water, I go around the edges. I think these ones are actually dried up pretty good. This is just water I'm using around the edges, and I'm just softening the edges. That's a little trick. That's another one of my tricks. That's like three big tricks, I think, today. I never know when I'm going to show you a trick because I don't see a reason for it in the piece. Maybe what I ought to do is invent a piece where I could show you all my tricks. There are a lot of tricks.
I think this piece has a lot of tricks, Rob.
Thanks. Good.
It's a hard one.
It is?
Yeah. Well, well, for me, it's got trees, hard.
Yeah.
Clouds, hard.
Yeah.
You know, the shadows on, yeah, just everything's hard, but it's good. It's good practice, so thanks.
Well, that's what you do. You just get in there and play with. You don't know how to do it until you do it, and then you get in there and do it. I mean, you know, Diane, you do those marvelous portraits, so you should be, you know.
Well,
I think if you're having a problem with it, it's just a question of mileage.
yeah,
I'm not worried.
Definitely need.
I'm not worried. Now, I know a lot of these look a little busy, but you know, it's funny how much of this you lose. All these little washi marks I just put in there, they just turn into nothing after a while. You almost have to come back and reinforce the whole thing. Sometimes the best thing to do is just lay down a bunch of water and throw some white in there and see what happens. I've done that too. When I was really, really not having a good day. All right. There we go. Just with water. They just do amazing things. All right, you guys. You could start another one, and if you get halfway done, doesn't matter. I don't care. It does. I'm going to turn off the recording, and then we'll have the crit. I'm going to record and share screen, and there's Katie. How's that?
Nice.
All right.
Nice, Katie. Nice.
Is it? Oh, that's never mind.
All right. Hey, you know what? I mean, you know, Katie, you got the rules down. I'm looking at this. Everything I did, you follow the rules absolutely by the book.
I follow you
I could
exactly.
see,
Very literal.
right. And but that's good. That's the way you want to do in the beginning. You want to be literal, and then what happens is as you get comfortable with these rules, like for instance, every single one of these balls here has a nice little shadow on it. I mean, so that just tells me, you know, you're listening and you're trying, and
Yeah.
so what happens is after a while, you get comfortable with them, and then you learn to kind of move them around and, you know, augment things. Let me make sure. I want to make sure. I have to turn this off to see if my recording's on. I wish I didn't have to do that. Let's see. Wait. Or pause
It says
recording.
it's on.
Oh, okay. You guys. Okay, good. You can
Yeah.
tell, huh? Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I can't tell.
Well, you know, on my screen, I don't
looking
see
at.
that it's on.
Yeah, the red dot is blinking, so I guess it's.
Yeah. Let me just look at this real quick. It says,
Yep, there it says.
yeah, it's recording. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. So you guys can tell. That's great. Okay.
Huh.
So yeah. So like for instance, with this letter S on the ground. Now what we do is we just finesse it a little bit. We'll take, and you can do this with a little dry brushing. Let me take a little green. You can just take some grasses and throw it over the front. Okay. And that'll kind of disguise it there. Grasses. Not
Okay.
exactly in the same value as I'm doing it, but
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but so a little bit of overlapping. I would even overlap a little bit on this little guy here. Just throw some grasses up and over that. And it's a little bright, this white. So I would glaze a little bit of blue, some bluish shadow over here, just a little bit of,
Yeah.
just to kind of knock it back a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a.
We just fine tune things. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And And I think that if these guys up here were a little bit more dry brushed, you'd get a little bit more of the foliage quality to it. So again, you know, I want you to do some paintings in just dry brush.
I know, it's hard.
Because you don't have any problem doing wet into wet. Well, you know, I have people with the opposite problem, by the way.
Oh,
I have people that do everything too dry and they never get wet enough. Yeah.
huh.
It's
That's
weird.
not my problem.
It's not you know, it's just a question of messing around with it and really pushing the dynamics until you see what you need after a while.
Okay.
So just a little more dry brushing I can see up in these guys. But thank you. I mean, it just tells me that you're, you know, all you do is you listen and you try and you keep in there, and then there's little successes. All these little successes build into bigger successes in the end. So that's about all I can say as far as you know, it doesn't come fast, but it comes. And this is nice. I like your blue shadows in here.
Thanks.
We do have, if you'll notice, kind of repeating forms, very similar.
Yeah.
So I might come and try to break some of those up. It also could be that you have this hard line where your shadow goes into your light. And if we could massage, or maybe come up with a halftone value in between, so halfway, a value that's not the light and not the shadow.
Huh.
Yeah, not as light as the light and not as dark as the shadow, but something right in between here might help you to turn those, because right now they look flat and then they have a side to them. And that's not always a bad thing, but maybe a little more halftone in there.
Okay.
Right along there. Okay. Okay.
Thanks.
Sure. Let's see what we've got here. Let's bring Michelle up. Right. All right. Well, did you come into it with a little chalk, Michelle?
It's neocolor. I don't know if you guys have ever used those. They're water soluble like crayons.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. It's one of those days where it's like, yeah, I'm not happy with it. So I'm more unhappy I'm with something, the more I'm willing to just do anything. So
yeah. Me too. Sometimes, sometimes when you're unhappy with a piece, I have, sometimes when I'm in the right frame of mind and I think to do it, I'll use it as a piece to experiment on. And sometimes I come out with much better things than I ever would have the other way. So that's when you can really turn a negative into a positive. So
yeah,
I like this crayon stuff.
It's almost like dry brushing. If you don't go over it again with water, because it kind of picks up the tooth of the paper.
Yeah. And then when you go over it with water, it looks just like watercolor, right?
It does, although it's probably more opaque than, there's probably some, what is that, gum arabic in this stuff? I don't know.
Yeah.
They're water-soluble color wax pastels. So, anyways, they're fun. They're fun, but they're different.
Yeah. Okay, I could see maybe this shadow on the ground, this shadow over the path right here, maybe a little darker.
Yep, agreed.
I think your dirt got pretty dark, so then you got to go darker with the shadow. That's all.
Yeah, and I actually even pulled off of that too. I mean, I was really dark and I pulled it back, and it's still pretty dark.
Yeah. So
All right.
whatever works. Then I might kick a little bit of grasses, and you can do this with your crayon, just up and over this edge here. You did this very nicely. This is nice right here, but because this looks a little hard edged. So I
Okay.
might a little bit there, maybe a little bit there, and that would just kind of tuck it in a little bit. Yeah, your tree looks nice. Yeah, I love to see a tree coming right off the page.
Well, that was because my yellow and my clouds got away from me, and I'm like, shit, that was too yellow. And I couldn't sort it out. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's gonna be a tree then.
Yeah. You know, it's nice to see a page, a tree coming right off the page. In that case, too, I might actually take some of this yellow. You know, you'll probably crop into it, but I would probably just take a little bit more up into the top. Not a big deal, but just to kind of force it right off the page. And let's see. Yeah, I like your little light. You've got light and dark branches. What I did was I came back and hit little spots of shadow. You know, little spots of shadow at the top of the branches where you might have the foliage casting shadow onto it.
Okay.
It's really, really simple thing to do, but you'll get this sort of in and out effect. Wow, that's a lot of fun. You know, if you guys look at the way she did this, it almost looks like a vignette. Almost the way you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, I normally, if I was gonna frame this, I would mat all that down. I mean, I would mat it not quite to the edge of the color, but pretty close.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, I like how this kind of fused itself in. You used a nice little shadow down there at the base to fuse it into the, and then you overlapped some grasses over the front there. That looks good. Okay.
I like the way the three trees on the right kind of lead your eye to the main attraction there.
Yeah.
They just kind of point up.
Yeah, they're kind of leaning towards
Yeah.
the tree. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah.
That is good. Yeah, because you could have had them leaning this way, and then I think it wouldn't be as effective.
Wouldn't know where to look. Yeah.
Like they're all having a conversation.
Yeah. They're all talking about the big guy. Okay. All right. And let's see, Robin.
Ooh.
All right, a lot of wet into that action.
That's nice.
It is.
Ooh.
It's nice and simple.
Nice. Yeah.
That reminds me of Jill, Rob. Doesn't it remind you of Jill when she would do her wet paintings?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Let's see. Maybe a little more shadow on the ground. I don't know. And if I were going to put a shadow on the ground, I might give it a little bit of color. No, yeah. Is this that overcast one? I don't know.
Yes, the clouds were very dark in the background.
Oh, then you won't get much shadow on the ground. Oh, okay, yeah. Cool. I like the way you handled all this.
This is called, the name of this painting is, I got mad at the first painting, so I started another one.
That's a long title. Maybe you could call it Mad. No. Maybe you could just call it antagonization. No.
I shouldn't have said mad. I just got, it's like I knew I could do better and I'm still not there, but anyway.
You've got a lot of nice natural things happening. You have a nice looking negative shape here.
Mm-hmm.
And here. So I like the way you cropped into it. These negative shapes make for a really nice layout. And even these little negative shapes in here, you know, down at the bottom can really, you know, so you really cropped in on the tree. And this is another tree where you came right out of the piece, I like.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you crop into things, that's when you get the really nice negative shapes out of the background.
That's a nice composition.
Yeah, it is. And
Yes.
I'm almost,
look
what
how
is it, that steel yard with the big tree and the little tree? What's that called, Rob?
it's just a big mass being balanced out by a smaller mass.
Steel yard, I think.
Yeah, kind of a, yeah. Yeah,
So nice.
yeah, all by itself, it doesn't work as well. Giving it a little bit of weight here, that's nice. And I don't know if you did this on purpose or not, but you have a tree branch taking this more in this direction. Let me get my fancy schmancy arrow pointer here. See, that's pointing in that direction. And this one's pointing in this direction.
Yep.
Taking us right up to the tree. You're basically, if you look at it, you're really creating kind of a pyramid in a loose way. That's a, you know, it's a pretty old idea, you know. Most of the ideas are old. Nice. I like the way it brings our eyes around the piece. Yeah, a lot of times I'll lay things in like this, wet into wet, and then let them dry. And then maybe come back into it with a little more shading. Any kind of detail you want. You don't necessarily need that much detail, but you know, maybe we ought to do that next time. Do a wet into wet underpainting first, and then go over it. That would be
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, I was going to put the branches in. I was going to go back, and I also have this. I've been inspired by you guys with the chalk and the mixed media, so I was going to do exactly that. Just put in lights with dry media.
Yeah. All right.
I like the sky. What color did you use for the sky?
It was really dull violet and French ultramarine and a little bit of yellow.
Wow, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little pink in there, but I'm not sure.
Looks salmon.
Well, I was kind of trying to do your thing, Rob, where you throw all three colors in there, all three primaries.
Yeah. Very nice.
Did you use the Oriental brush? It looks like a very similar strokes.
I know.
Russian, Kalinsky Sable.
No American, right? Okay. Let's see. Ethel. Let's do Ethel. Okay.
Oh, let's do that.
Hey.
Nice values right away. Nice looking value.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Look at that eucalyptus.
Good work,
Wow.
Ethel.
So cool.
Yeah.
So look at these positive and negative. You got a negative shape here, positive shape here. And you know, she could close these in if she wanted to, but look how they show off the branches. So you got to leave yourself these big gaps.
Yeah, that was hard.
To show off the branches. Yeah, it's so easy to get lost in big clumps.
Yeah.
Because we think about the foliage, and then we don't think about the air in between. So that's a good lesson. And look,
That line on the path, oh my gosh, that's great.
yeah, you can see how you fit that into a really nice little sort of cone shaped unit there. Yeah.
I stayed there.
Yep. No, I mean, if you want to, I don't know if you saw me or not, but I put a little bit of white and blue back here. If you wanted to kick that back a little bit, just knock it back a little bit. Try it. It really works.
Okay. Those four little trees between the two big ones.
Yeah.
Do I need to put some dark in there or
Yeah.
something? Hold them together? They look like they're, I don't know.
Sometimes I'll put a little bit of something in there linking them together.
Okay. I tried to put a mountain.
I don't know if it necessarily has to be. Yeah, just continue a little bit of foliage in between.
Okay,
Possibly.
just to tie them.
Yeah, just to tie them together, right? I'll throw in a little bit of something in there.
Okay.
I really like the way you did the foliage on this.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see how she has light on the top and then it bends around and goes into shadow? Light on the top, bends around, goes into shadow.
Nice.
See? It really works. And it's quick and effective. You know, now you guys might not even notice this, but her clouds are very, you know why they're masterful is because you don't really notice them. You know there's clouds back there, but they're not really demanding your attention. They're not pulling your attention away from the main shape. So little wet into wet action on those
Yeah, a
on those
little bit.
clouds, huh? Yeah.
Does that branch work on the right up there? I threw it in, but I wasn't sure I liked it. Let's see.
Well, I don't hate it or anything.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I just don't.
It
Oh,
leads
well.
you into the painting.
Yeah.
I think it's like a eye stopper.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Kind
guess.
of directs the eye back
Yeah,
in.
it brings you back in. Yeah.
And it keeps you from kind of going out. It sort of brings the eye back in.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. As long as it's doing a job.
It didn't bug me. No.
I was too scared to try that branch, so I'm glad you did.
I noticed you threw in a little bit here in the corner too.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's good. And I could see again. I could see maybe a few more leafage.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit darker shadow.
Ah. Huh.
Little darker shadow there. Did I put green for the shadow? A little darker shadow right there.
Okay.
And then a little bit more, kicking a little bit more over the fronts of those,
Yeah,
I think.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Kind of break up the stiffness of the, you know, and occasionally what I like to do is throw in a little bit of grasses.
Oh yeah, I should have done that too. Yeah, just to make it look natural.
Yeah.
Right, just a couple here and there, little zigzaggy patterns. They're small, but
Yeah,
they work.
that makes sense.
All righty then. Let's see.
Yeah, I see that in the photo.
That was Ethel. It's Suzanne.
Ooh.
Hey, Suzanne.
Ooh, pretty.
Ooh, pretty.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
That's nice. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I did what Robin did. I got very frustrated with mine and then did this in the last 45 minutes because I thought, okay, I need to do this faster. And the first one was awful.
Oh.
Wow, that looks
good.
really nice. Yeah.
Now, here's
Suzanne, that's
what
what I wanted to do. You did
So-
what I wanted to do.
So see this shadow?
Uh-huh.
Right now it's got so many lights in it. I feel like maybe you should just maybe put a glaze over the whole thing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Just to unify it a little bit. Just
Right.
one light glaze, not a big deal. Just to separate these lights here from these lights out here.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible that you could have some dappled light in that shadow, but I would just unify it a little bit. And then each one of these pieces of foliage will cast a little bit of a shadow down the shaft of the branch. You'll get a little shadow like that underneath each one.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would just go around hitting a few of those. Again, with maybe even the same colors you did there.
Okay.
You'll see it. I like your background. I love all the dry brushing. That's really nice. Okay. You got pretty dark with those shadows.
Uh-huh.
So then, here's the thing. There's no reason why you couldn't have much darker leaves. So what I would do is actually put a glaze over the lights of these. Not everywhere, but like maybe up here, because there's a lot of broken separation. And I actually don't hate that at all. But if you want to, maybe a little bit more of a glaze on some of the tops.
Okay.
So it's not so dramatic from the light and the shadow. See how this
Wow.
starts to hold together as a body?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay.
I can't help but draw all over here, so, you know.
Good. Go draw away.
Is this stuff over here like dead stuff?
Yeah.
So even though it's dead, I would still put a little bit of light and a little bit of shadow at the base. It might not be as dramatic as what I'm doing, but maybe just a little bit of love in there, you know? A little bit of attention in there.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. We got Mrs. Sims. Oh,
Nice.
lovely.
Rob, I think I sent you a second one. I can't tell.
Oh, this isn't the one?
Well, there was another one, I believe.
Oh.
Well, this
can't
looks
tell.
pretty good.
That's beautiful. Beautiful,
Uh,
Lynn.
It said revised on it
Oh, okay.
There it is.
because I put more junk in it. I'm not sure it's better.
Oh, okay. Let me do that one then. Okay. All right.
Ooh,
Beautiful.
nice.
No, I love the light. You got a really nice feeling of light in this piece.
Uh-huh, definitely.
How about look at these little touches? See this little touch right here? She puts all this dark down at the base there.
Yeah, that's nice.
I mean, they might be a little too dark, but I like them. They're little accents. So that's something that
Look at beautiful.
we would call that a pocket theme right there. So you're kind of doing it here too. So I like these. I just like the sense of light, and your sky in the background feels like a Rococo painting. Very light and airy.
Nice cloud.
Beautiful sky. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at Fragonard or Watteau or
Yeah, those clouds.
that.
Really beautiful.
And now, if we had a lighter shadow right here, that would be very high key. And that's what like Tiepolo, he's sort of both Baroque and Rococo painter. He would do this theme, and he would keep all of this thing very, very light. And then at the very end, you could tell he just comes back in with these little pockets of dark here and here and here. You're kind of doing it here.
How do I handle that shadow, Rob? I couldn't, just looks
Here?
off. Yeah.
Don't do what I just did. Here. Maybe my way of conveying that to you is just to say, don't do what I did. It's a little bit on the dark side.
Yeah.
Now, are you using pastel on here?
I did because I just didn't like it.
Now, here's a little trick. What you can do is take a wash of just water. Just take some water and go over the whole thing and let it sit for about a minute.
Uh-huh.
Take your paper towel and blot it up so you can get the value up lighter. And then go over it with another, I don't mind the color you're using. It's just a little dark, a little harsh. It's not bad though, but it's not, I would go a little bit lighter with it. and then maybe come back into it with your pastel. And think, you know, grasses and things like that with the pastel.
Oh, I'll try it.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks better.
In blues and greens.
With
Cool
your
tone.
mark, looks better.
Yeah. All right. I love the way you contain this whole tree mass into one big mass, and then if you guys look, you know, she just comes back in with these little highlights. Highlights here, highlights there, and that's it. Snap, crackle, pop, you're out. Boom. That's a great way to handle a tree mass right there. I mean, the thing is that, you know, I handled mine differently, but we're both using the same concept. You're using a little bit wetter paint than I am, I think. No big deal. It doesn't really matter the technique you use. As long as you get the principle of that, we've got a whole bunch of clumps. You know, there's basically all these clumps, you know, and they have, you know, they have highlights on them, and they go down into shadow. You know, and as long as you get that concept, you can have big areas with just a little bit of light and mostly shadow, or the same thing in reverse. But even the clouds, you got it in the clouds too. You can tell you get the concept. So you have a cloud that's basically shadow over here, and light over here, and a little halftone in between. And then you just let the watercolor do the rest. It's wonderful. I like this piece. It's nice. I don't know why, but for some reason I'm thinking maybe you could use a couple of dark branches through here. It's just begging for them. I don't know.
Absolutely, that looks great.
Here and there. But I like the way your tree is leaning. Your tree has a lean to it. It leans this way.
Uh-huh.
These guys are kind of leaning and curling back in this way. That's nice. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Very light. Very high. Did last night's painting influence you today?
Maybe the carryover.
Yeah, there's a lot of very light things happening. Okay. Let's see. Let me clear the drawings here. And there's Lynn. Let's go to George. All right.
Wow.
Nice color, George.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And that way French looking, George.
What was that, Henry?
Oh, I thought it was like a Cézanne.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
I like it.
Nice.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice.
So George, I could see you possibly coming in. Remember how we talked about the foliage casting shadows down onto the branches?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of that here and there.
Okay.
Not a big deal, but. And then some of you, I mean, I can see that you're hitting some shadows into some areas. I could see a few more, just a few more. I mean, because the light's coming from the top and the right, I would want the shadows going down to the bottom mostly and a little bit off to the left. Just a couple more. I really like your colors though. Your colors are great. I love this this saturated blue you have coming through. It really reads the sky.
Okay.
The path kind of looks like it has stuff growing on the sides of it. And it certainly could. It's got kind of dark. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what to do on that. Let's see. Maybe the thing to do is to take these dark marks, a few of these dark marks, and take them out into here.
Mm-hmm.
Not as dark as what I'm doing, but just to sort of integrate them.
Spread it out.
Yeah, here and there. I'm being extremely literal. You know what I mean? I mean, I wouldn't. Although it is sort of getting that Van Gogh thing going for it, isn't it? Oh, sorry. I got carried away. You know, your trees look really nice.
Oh, thanks.
This is what I talk about. You don't have very many branches, and it doesn't really need very many. All right. Now, if you want this area to feel a little bit further away, I would do that little bit of white gouache and some ultramarine blue in it. Just take that over it with a light glaze. You'll see it really works.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That looks good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
The sky was bothering me with those watermarks up there.
I don't mind them at all personally. I know they would be darker up there.
Okay.
They're kind of a stylistic element of the whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the blue doesn't. I mean, at this point, there really isn't anything you could do about that except maybe take a little water and take them up a little bit. But I don't mind them. So.
Yeah, it's like a John Marin's watercolor. You just,
exactly. Yeah.
Just
like a what?
Look at the John Marin's John Marin, right?
Marin.
Marin's sky, just like yours.
Yeah.
Oh.
Looking
Okay.
very much like a John Marin. Yeah.
Is that M-A-R-E-N?
I-N.
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 John Marin.
And you might want to, if you wanted it to look like a John Marin, what you could do is put a whole bunch of, what do you call them? The little red, white, and blue flags going on in there, like this. Maybe one here. You could even get crazy and put one right up in here if you like.
Stripes everywhere.
I won't hold that against you.
Okay. I need to look up John Marin, I think.
I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Just joking. Yeah, John Marin, he really. Oh no, he's one of the great American watercolorists. Oh yeah. Okay. He's just famous for doing all these flags down, I think Broadway or something. Okay. All right, Alice. Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, nice.
Holding together very nicely.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Now, you chose to go a little darker on this guy over here, and less dark on this.
Yes.
So if you wanted to, if you want a little more interest in this area, just a little bit more darks in here would do it. Little pockets.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe especially down at the base, I noticed I saw a lot of dark. But that
Yeah.
yeah, this is all working very nicely, pointing us back into the focal point. Look at this, taking us right to the focal point. Even these, look at this, she curls that in, taking us to the focal point. Very smart.
It was an accident, trust me. I had no idea.
See, you're not supposed to say that.
Okay.
Planned it that way. Yay.
Even this, the way you kind of curled these in. Kind of, it's almost like you're using this dark right here to keep the eye in. Almost like, remember earlier when I put that shadow down here?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They just keep, they're just little, they're kind of like a, I don't know, like when you use your hand to keep stuff in when you're cooking, a little flour in on the side here, you just kind of moving it in. So, it's all
Rob,
very
I have
nice.
a question.
Very well done.
The-
Yes.
The shadow at the bottom, Does that kind of look like a Christmas tree laying down?
Mhm.
I think I just noticed that.
You can put some
Oh, it's
decorations on it.
Oh my God. That is funny.
Well, now that I look at Rob's also.
I'm sorry, I don't have overlapping forms. Here, wait. There we go.
Don't forget the star on top.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you gotta have the star on top, huh? Dear.
Angel.
Or the angel, yeah.
No, yeah, they like for instance, mine looked like the letter S, right? And this might look, it's because you contained it, okay? So what you do is, then you just finesse some grasses along the edges.
Okay.
So what you might want to do is, and it might get kind of muddy or whatever, but it's okay. Just take a little water along the edge right here, and here possibly, and wet it, and then take some light stuff up and over. Do I have a light green? Here, I have a light green right here.
Okay.
Some lighter things up here, and that'll break that up.
Yeah.
Some lighter thing.
Yeah. I was thinking of
on this
even
side,
taking the bottom all the way to the top all the way to the bottom edge of the shadow. Bring it all the way down.
you could do that. Yeah, you could do that too. Sure. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice.
And then maybe some of this shadow stuff out into the light like that. The same way you're doing this here.
Yeah.
You do it back here, but you do it in shadow. So you have light over dark, and here you have dark over light.
Yeah.
That'll get you that going. I would also kick a
I
few
need
little
to
grass
practice
things
that.
up and over your path a little bit here too.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Wow. Is that mineral paper again? Mitsuko, is she there? Hello?
She's still in the gallery view. Let's see.
Oh, is she muted? Let's see.
Oh, she must be muted.
I have to get out of here to unmute her. Looks like everybody's unmuted. Wait. No. She's just not in the room.
No, I saw her picture.
We can't hear you, Mitsuko.
Mitsuko. She's there. She's muted.
It doesn't say mute.
On mine it does.
She just muted herself.
Oh.
Doesn't want to talk.
Maybe she's doing
Here, how about this?
something.
You guys watch this. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Unmute.
She's still muted on my screen.
Herself.
Now she is it. Now, okay, she did it.
Is that you? Are you there?
She
just muted herself again.
I'll come back to you. I've never done that before though, so that was fun. I think I can actually write like
maybe.
Yeah, chat.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there yourself. There you go.
Again.
How do you say it? Bits.
M-I-T-S Mitsuko. M-I-T-S-U-K-O.
M-I-S.
S-U-K-O.
Okay, well, anyway.
Well, she's still muted.
That's funny.
Maybe she
Well, let
can't
me.
find the
Okay,
button.
look.
I don't know.
Maybe
Where is
There
she?
you go.
Now she isn't.
There she's up.
Are you
Mitsuko.
there? There you are. Oh my gosh.
Mitsuko.
Are you there?
Welcome back.
Turn your volume up.
No, she has to turn off the other mute.
Turn up
There's
your
that up.
volume.
Oh, she turned it back on. She thinks she's mixed up. I've been doing that too. She's mixed up. There's that other mute when she turns off. She's still not hearing. She can't hear Rob on that other one.
Oh, you can't hear me?
No. She's muted on another. There are two mutes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and it took me about 4 weeks to figure that out. I was making too much noise and everything.
When
My
you
God,
log
moving
in, it
stuff,
asks you what
painting.
audio device you want to use.
Oh, it's
If you don't choose the audio device, it'll mute you. You don't hear and you don't talk.
Yeah, she's got that other one and she can't hear. I know.
She's
I
unmuted.
think she's unmuted on everything now.
Yeah,
It looks
because
like it.
Mitsuko, can
I
you
could
hear
never.
us?
Can you hear me?
No, unmute.
Oh,
Unmute.
No, you're not.
There.
I tried to call her, but she's not answering her phone.
Oh.
Can you hear us?
You know what? I'm just gonna critique
Okay.
it, okay?
Okay.
Because this is going on too long.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, beautiful quality to the work. Even though you have all this variation, I still see, your cloud shape is really, really holding together very nicely. And let's see what's happening here. You even got the lights and the shadows in the cloud. Very, very subtle, very nice. I would call this kind of, I hate to use this word, but it kind of fits it. We used to call them like broken edges, but I call this a broken painting in a way. And I don't mean that facetiously. You see how the lights and darks, they're kind of separate from each other. There's nothing really holding them together, like in here. They're just separate units. It has a beautiful quality to it. So we get all these real broken quality and a lot of harsh lights and shadows right here, kind of falling apart a little bit, but it's kind of nice. It's got a
Yeah.
it's got a thing going there. It's very stylized. I mean, if I wanted to unify some of this broken stuff here, I would just take a harmonizing glaze. Is everybody muted now?
No.
I hear George.
Oh, some people are.
weird.
Diane is. Michelle is. Suzanne.
I muted myself so I don't create any other ambient sounds if I'm moving.
Rob,
And I'll
what
have
kind of
painters.
glue would you use to glaze?
See how that's just one. I'd probably use like ultramarine blue,
Okay.
but that's just one glaze, and all that did was just
Wow.
you just took a little bit of the shadow and put it in with the light stuff, right over the light stuff. See, that's all.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I would just use a little bit of a harmonizing glaze here and there, if you wanted to bring together some of that broken quality. You may want to keep that broken quality though, because that might have been something you were going for. If that is, then go for it. I just like to, I like it when you push a theme, because anytime you push a theme, that means you to push a theme, you're usually distorting or pushing an idea that isn't actually there. That's just fine with me. So, but harmonizing glazes work very nicely for that. Maybe another little shadow up there, possibly. I don't really have negative things to say about this painting. It's great. Look at this big. Now, for those of you that paint with a lot of water, look what happens when you look at these beautiful organic marks you get. So I really like that mark. I really do. So now it almost looks like she's using like a wax
is this
resistant.
surface like a hot press paper?
Yeah, it is like a hot press. It's called mineral paper.
Yeah,
And it looks to me like she's doing some sort of wax resist here. You can actually use a crayon, a white crayon, or she might have used a mascoid or something like that. But it looks like she used that around all these. She painted these on there first, waited for them to dry, and then did that. If you'll look at Sargent, he would use this stuff called, he would just use like a candle, like beeswax. And beeswax will resist it too. You can just draw all over. We should try that, huh?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
I'm writing little notes. I'm writing little notes of maybe some fun little things to try in the future. Okay. Again, very, very nicely done. Beautiful.
Beautiful piece.
I love all this wax resist stuff too. Okay, nice job. Hector. Wow, Hector.
Ooh,
Wow.
Gosh.
Gorgeous.
nice.
Yeah.
Ooh,
As
beautiful.
real as I've ever seen you do. Actually, that's pretty nice. That's really nice.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, it really holds together. This unit really holds together.
Yeah. Holy cow.
looks like a
And
Chinese painting.
And I go at it abstractly,
And it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
believe it or not.
Yep.
Yep, I
And
believe.
Totally abstract.
Is that
Oh,
on
it's kind of
watercolor
good.
paper or is that on a different type of surface?
What kind of paper, Hector?
Yeah, what kind of paper?
He froze.
Oh,
Oh,
Hector?
Yellow pads, watercolor pads.
ah,
Yeah, now, is this a shadow? Right here?
Hector?
oh, he froze again.
I'm seeing something like a shadow down here. I don't know if that is a shadow because it looks like that's the shadow back there. I'm not sure. But sometimes I love it. I love to see a shadow
Yes.
going down the hill.
No, it's kind of like yeah, I don't know. It was kind of, it wasn't the shadow was closer to the tree. This was like a dug out dirt.
Yeah, yeah. Just some dirt
It's
exposed.
in
Yeah.
that one painting. It's like it's like it's been path around.
Uh-huh.
It's gorgeous, that area.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Beautiful.
what you can do is
Strathmore watercolor cold press. It's that big.
uh-huh. You see how I'm casting little shadows here from the like the foliage cast onto the tree branches and things. Whoa. Oh, hold on a second. So again, I would throw little shadows here and there. Just little dappled shadows on some of your branches, just to show that it, there's things that would be casting shadows onto the branches.
Yeah, well, those light marks I did at the very end.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
I had them done already, but I wanted a little more contrast, so I went back in with it's a Sennelier 3D. That's called 3D liners.
Yeah.
So it may have been a little too much too light, too white.
Well, no, that's okay to do that, and then come back and glaze in a little bit of shadow or something over it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I like to do. And I don't know why, but I could feel like maybe there's a shadow being cast down here as a possibility. I might try something like that. Not a big deal here, but just as a something to keep the eye in a touch, you know, moving the eye
Yeah,
back.
I was thinking of going just glazing it a little more darker
Yeah,
there in the
that's
corner.
all.
Yeah.
And if you do want that to make it feel like shadow, then make sure you go down the hill here and then across. So this feels flat here, real flat. And then here you're going uphill and flat here. So it'll feel more like a shadow. Okay, beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, the sector, Diane. Well, that's colorful, Diane. Wow.
Oh.
Nice.
Very colorful. You got a lot of nice saturation going on in there.
Yeah, I actually had to go, I went back over it with just like yellow, you know, I mean, I just got yellow on my brush because my greens were just kind of dull. They just seemed really dull. So I just went back over it.
You certainly can do that. I mean, that's a great way to live it. I could see me doing that too. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see mine, but I could certainly smack a little bit of well, I'll do it some other time, but smack a little yellow right up here in the foreground. And that's what you did. Nice. See shadows. Now you see this idea of the overlapping the grass over the shadow you did right here?
They didn't show up all that well though, I don't think.
And you know, another thing you can do is just take a little white, or you could take white with a little bit of like lemon yellow in it, and then
okay.
go over it, let it dry, and then glaze it any way you want.
Oh, okay. White with lemon yellow. Okay.
Yeah, because the lemon yellow is also very opaque. Now with this idea here, you also might want to take a little bit of the shadow. The shadow would also overlap the background.
Yeah, I see that now. It just looks so weird. It looks like to me, it looked like it was like a road going through, like asphalt or something.
It's you know, this is a classic example of how just an edge will help you.
Okay.
Just a vertical edge, maybe a dry brushing that edge will make that feel more like grasses in front of, like grasses in shadow in front of grasses in light.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the same thing here. I would take a little bit of grasses over this, a little bit more grasses up over. That'll get rid of the literal S look.
Yeah, I know. I looked at that and went, oh gosh.
It's okay. Just a few here and there.
I
A little
didn't
dry
get.
brushing here and there.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes I occasionally let them sort of like go into each other like this, and it sort of breaks the whole thing up.
Yeah, I see that.
Your grass, though, that light grass in your lower left is just lovely. That is really
beautiful.
neat in there. That picking up into those shadows there. That's really lovely.
Oh, thanks.
You know, you've got the most colorful piece. This is a really colorful piece.
Do you see the yellow? I put the yellow in the clouds. Yeah.
Yes, you did. I see it.
And pink.
Reddish, bluish. Yeah.
Yep.
It works.
Oh,
I love these clouds too, how they just sort of fade into nothing. Did you use a little white?
Yep. I had to go over it with your gouache trick just to kind of I had like some hard edges that and I wasn't happy with the shapes. I went in and kind of tried to soften that a little bit.
So it looks like you went over here with a little gouache too.
Yeah, but it looks too thick. I mean, I wasn't. I should have finessed it a little bit. I didn't have time to go back in.
It's okay. You know what you do is you just leave it, and then, and I'm sure it's dry by now. Take a little glaze over it.
Okay.
Yeah, glaze it down into shadow.
Okay.
Yeah, you could take whatever color you want to put in there, but you know, a little bit of glaze down into shadow too. It'll remember, putting the white on like that is almost like taking it back to the white of the paper.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Think
that's
of it-
right. Then you can, that's right. Then you can just put color over it. Okay. Makes sense.
And then I'm thinking with your tree right here, a lot of these units look pretty similar.
Yeah.
So I would just vary it. You know what else you can do is connect a couple of them. Take a little shadow and just kind of like, you know, neander it a little bit.
Okay.
Like you're kind of doing right here, kind of grouping things a little bit more. Yeah. It'll take a few of the ones that look identical and bring them together. And they'll
Okay.
form a form.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Very colorful. Very nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
We got Daniel. Hey, Daniel. Wow. You put these on the other side.
Ooh.
You rebel. Did you turn the photograph around, or you just decided to do it backwards? Is Daniel not hearing us?
You hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Did I turn it around? No, I just designed it differently. That's all.
Oh, okay. All right. Very nice. Very nice.
I had trouble with the shadow.
The shadow here in the foreground. Yeah. Yeah, I could. It feels like it's falling apart. And what that usually tells me is that I need a harmonizing glaze. So then I would just take a big glaze over the whole thing and group it. You know, so it holds together as a unit like that. I mean, this isn't the best example, but that's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had it together and then I got way too dark and muddy, and so I blotted it off.
Well, get it together, man. Yeah. Hey, by the way, since you did it sort of in reverse, is the light coming from this direction now?
No.
Okay. It's hard to tell. Looks pretty much like it's underneath these guys, so and you got a shadow on this side of the road, which tells me that the light's kind of coming from that way.
Okay, I'll go with you.
It's not bad or anything. Yeah, usually, well, I mean, you did it right. You did it consistent. Nice looking clouds. Your clouds are gorgeous. That's a beautiful way to do clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you see your tree here? How it really still fits into that unit? See, you broke out of it like this. I would have a couple more breakouts here and maybe out here or something, just so it doesn't feel so contained. Pretty easy to do. Just take a couple of these little guys. See how they fall into a line here? I would just bring a little guy out here, you know, maybe a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're small. But by the way, this tree line back here is perfect. Perfect. I mean, maybe if you wanted to put a little more shadow at the bottom, but I would be careful of that so it doesn't detract from this too much. But other than that, it's beautiful. Did you use the white in the background here?
No.
No, because it looks like you did. Wow. Very nice. By looking at that, it almost looks like you did. Wow. And you've got a little dark here, and you might not even think it matters, but it really does feel like you've got like from here to here is about, you know, maybe a half a mile or so, maybe a quarter of a mile. And then from here to here, you got another quarter of a mile. And then from here to here, you have another mile or two. So you really got a lot of distance out of that. Nice.
I just put in some ultramarine and let it swish around.
There you go. Just put a little blue. If you wanted to, take a little bit of yellow in this area, not nearly that yellow, and not nearly as yellow as this, but that would kick this landmass in front of this one a little bit more. Just a very subtle glaze of something in the yellow family there. And what you wanted is, you just wanted just a little bit more yellow than this. You want this more yellow than this, and this will come forward a little bit more. But what you don't want is, you don't want it as yellow as this in the foreground. So that's sort of the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's working for you. You got a lot of distance out of that. So, I mean, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But that might be something I would work at. These branches totally remind me of oak branches out of my mom's house. They look perfect.
Thank you.
That's what they do, just like that. Unfortunately, I was trying to do eucalyptus branches, Rob, so whatever.
No, I wasn't. I just wanted to keep the point the viewer back in.
I mean, just the fact that you're doing that, it just tells me that it's not going to be any time at all before, you know, you're already doing it well. So it won't be any time at all before you're able to do things with sticks like this, directing the eye up, and this, directing the eye back down, and, you know, possibly something over there or whatever. You'll be able to just take sticks and move the eye around a piece without being ridiculously literal, you know? And at the beginning, you want to be extremely literal, but these are very non-literal over here.
Which are those?
These guys over here, they're very non-literal. I mean, I think they're very, very well done. I especially like that you overlap the background here. That was a good move. Most people are afraid to do that. I always get a little scared when I overlap the background, but I know it's the right thing to do, so
I heard you when I did that.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh. Yes. Yes. All right. All right. Nice job. That makes me feel good as a teacher.
Do you like my gouache? You see my gouache?
I see a little white here on the branches.
Yeah.
A little white here and there. Yeah. Very nice. Okay. Very nice. Okay. Lynn. Oh, didn't we already do you, Lynn? Let's see.
Yes.
You did me.
Okay. Is that everyone? Wow.
Henry.
Henry.
Yeah, where are you, Henry? Oops. I'm sorry. Inbox. I don't see Henry. Hey, Henry, are you there?
He's not in the gallery view anymore.
You didn't get my email?
I don't see your email.
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah, I didn't get your email.
Let me see.
I gotta go, you guys. Have a great week.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
I
Rob.
can forward you this.
Yeah, I have to leave too. So,
Okay.
everybody, nice seeing you, and Hector, feel bad, and
Thank you.
Michelle, nice talk.
Nice
Wow.
Yep. Guys, have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
No, but, no. It says was sent, but I don't know why you did it. No, but
You're funny. You know all this technology stuff. You got, you can't send a friggin' email.
I just critique on my
Oh my God.
table here.
Oh, just to do it on the email?
I just forwarded you again. The title is Plein Air Wednesday, May 5th, Henry's painting. So plein air is the not. I just resent you.
Yeah, I don't see it in my inbox here.
You refresh your inbox, maybe. It could be slow or let me see if I can do another way.
Would it go to your junk mail, Rob?
Oh, maybe it went to my junk mail.
It could be.
Henry, you could just share a screen yourself.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
tried to do that. Novels, okay, I have it on in my sent box. So I just download it to my. Okay, I can share that. I think I'm going to open this.
You want to just share it?
Yeah, hold on. Let me. Yeah, I just open it and I'm going to close this one. Okay, let me see if I can share a screen of this one. Okay, hold on. Let me start sharing. So I can share screen. Cannot start sharing screen while another participant is sharing. So you have to stop yours. Stop.
Yeah, let me. All right.
So
I don't see it.
you stop sharing.
There it is. There it is. Okay. Okay, I got it. Where is it? Well, can you guys see this? Wait.
I still see. Let me see. Pin video. I have to pin and pin video.
I'm not sharing anything. Let's see. Yeah, let's pin your video.
If you pin Henry's, you'll
Okay.
be able to see it large.
If we pin his
Can you,
video.
can you guys see that?
Now Henry started sharing.
No, I don't. Oh, yes, now.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ooh.
Henry's it's all broken up here.
It's broken.
Yeah, I'm getting only half your painting.
Oh, I see.
I see it. Oh, it's pretty beautiful.
Very nice.
Maybe if
Gosh.
you pin his video, Rob.
I cannot see what you see. Let me see if I can see it.
Because
Oh,
I
I
see
see what you mean.
Just make it much smaller. Make it smaller.
Smaller. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, let me try different ways. I think I'm sharing the this.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just put them on pause because it was taking so long.
Fine.
All right, very nice job. I love this tree. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice tree.
Wow.
Yeah, that is
Beautiful.
awfully nice. Oh,
That totally reads eucalyptus.
yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I put a price tag on that one.
Thank you.
Wow.
And
Love the shadows. Oh my God.
you can't see my mouse though, can you? I can't point to anything.
Oh, that, you have to use annotation.
I know, but I can't use it in yours. Yours. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'll just don't mess with anything.
I think you can, but you have to find out. There's a dot for more, and then you should see the tool for edit.
No, I can't draw on your.
Okay, maybe I draw for you. You just.
I got it. Here it is. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I can't think of much to say on this one. This one's a really well
so
done
nice.
painting.
Beautiful.
It's just the problem is that it's all wrong. No, I'm just joking. No, I could see possibly back here a little bit of that got white on me.
Anything more?
A little bit of Chinese white and blue possibly. Just not, of course not that light, but a little bit lighter back there. I'm thinking just to throw that back of the touch.
Yeah.
Besides that, I mean, it's really well done. Really nicely done.
Thank you.
I think your stick over here came out great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
advice you gave earlier.
awesome.
Wow.
You see how the way he's using gouache right there? That just really works well.
And it reads it's in the shadow. I mean, it's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just taking little glazes and putting them over.
Wow.
Those make it feel a little bit more like they're in shadow.
Beautiful, Henry.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
You see how you have soft edges, kind of soft edges out here? You see how these edges are soft?
Where?
We can't see
I
you.
don't see your.
Middle
Oh,
ground.
there we go.
This
Oh,
is
yeah.
dark.
Those edges are a little soft. I would make these edges soft out here.
On the
Maybe
left.
softer.
Yeah, I was trying, but yeah, I have to maybe wash it. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of that I think would be nice.
Okay.
That's about it. I mean, you're by the way, your branches are great.
Yeah, that's my Chinese training.
I was going to say you have a little experience painting branches. I like how you overlap too. Very nice. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Well, that's beautiful. I like how
thank
you
you.
use two different blues in the sky too.
Yeah, I got some cobalt and then ultra. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful piece. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost looks like a sketch, like a painting sketch, very quick. And yet it's
That's what the
rendered
Sumi.
beautiful.
That's what the Sumi. The Sumi painting teaches you that. So.
Yeah, I did a Sumi sketch when you do the drawing, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I sent in the. Did I send it? Let me just point.
That's okay. I'll catch it on the email.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't send you that, but let me just change this.
I have to go. Goodbye, everybody.
Right, you guys.
You can see it now, right? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Bye.
the sketch I did. This is the original.
Nice sketch. I like that a lot. Wow.
Yeah, really nice.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I have to go. Thank you, Rob.
All right, you guys. I think
Thanks,
we'll
Rob.
call that a day. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.